Fidelity recently announced that there were now 654,000 people with over $1 million saved in their 401k. And today, I want to talk about the 5 areas someone with $1 million saved for retirement should be focusing on when planning. And by the way, if you're new here, my name is Ryan and I help 401k millionaires plan for retirement so that they can experience a retirement that was truly meant to be. But okay, the first thing someone with over $1 million needs to be planning for is taxes, taxes, taxes. And I start with this one because I find this is often the most overlooked part of the planning process. While having $1 million in a 401k is an amazing accomplishment, it also leads to potential higher taxes in the future. Why is that? Because the majority of people in their 50s and 60s spent their entire working years saving money into tax-deferred retirement accounts, meaning they deferred those taxes to the future. But now, in retirement, they have to start paying taxes on that money when they take it out. So if you have $1 million saved for retirement, you don't actually have $1 million because you still owe Uncle Sam. You probably have closer to $750,000 saved. So as you start to take money out of these retirement accounts, whatever you take out counts as income, which then also impacts the amount of taxes you pay on Social Security. It can impact your Medicare premiums, so it has a huge impact. But let's say you don't have to take out a lot of these accounts, maybe because you have a pension or a high Social Security and low expenses. So your retirement accounts continue to grow, and at age 73 or 75 for some, RMDs kick in, meaning you are now required to take out a certain amount of your retirement accounts regardless of if you need it or not. And this oftentimes leads to major increases for people in their 70s. So how do we plan for this? We like to look at what we call an incremental Roth conversion strategy, which is where we're taking money from your tax-deferred IRA and converting it over to a Roth IRA where it's now tax-free. And why do we like this? 1, Roth IRAs do not have RMDs, but 2, it's very likely that now you're in the lowest tax bracket you'll ever be in. So we would rather take advantage of the low rates today rather than risk taxes being higher in the future when those RMDs kick in. So tax planning is so crucial and it gets overlooked way too often. The second area you have to be planning for is income, because $1 million is a lot of money. And as you start to take money out of your accounts, when and how you do it is extremely important. So the first thing you have to know is, what does your income need? How much are you going to need out of the accounts? And the way you figure this out is you got to factor in Social Security, pensions, or any other income you have coming in. But now you can start to determine how much you will need out of your portfolio each year once you know those other numbers plus what your expenses are. And it's crucial to know this number because you want to plan ahead for it. Having your income planned for 3 to 5 years ahead of time can prevent you from taking money out of your account at the worst possible time. So what do I mean by that? Well, actually, that leads me into the third area you have to be planning for, which is your investment strategy. And your investment strategy has to tie in to your income plan. And here's how we do it. So we're going to separate out your money into 3 different buckets. And each of those buckets is going to play a role in your overall investment strategy. And the first bucket is what we call safety. This is the money you want to have set aside for short-term income needs and emergency expenses. A lot of times I like to see 1 to 2 to 3 years of income set aside here, plus a buffer for emergencies. So this needs to be liquid and conservative and not impacted by any market volatility. So this could be cash, money market, high yield savings accounts, whatever that may be. But the reason we want this conservative is because the worst thing you can do early in retirement is if we see a market downturn of 10 to 20% and you have to turn around and sell those investments while they're down rather than staying the course and waiting for the recovery, it can have a huge impact. Missing out on that recovery can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years and sometimes can be the difference in a good plan versus a bad one. So making sure your short-term income needs are covered so you can avoid having to dip into your investments while they are down is really important. The next bucket in the investment strategy is the income bucket, and this is your income planning that you need in the future, likely 3 to 5 years from now. So you want this money to ideally be getting some growth, but you still don't want to be overly aggressive with it. This could be something like bonds, dividend stocks, annuities, or even REITs, but either way, we want to use this for income in the future. So the goal of this investment is to be an income focused investment. We don't want to be overly aggressive. This wouldn't be where you want to buy Apple and Tesla or more volatile stocks, because we want this to be entirely focused on generating income for us in the future. The last bucket of the 3-bucket strategy is your growth bucket, and this is your long-term money that is likely 10 plus years away from being needed. This is the money we want to take the most risk with, because even if we see a multi-year bear market where this is down 20 or 30%, we don't need to touch any of this money in the short term. This money should be growing, making sure your plan can last far into your 80s and 90s. This is how we're going to help us cover long-term inflation and really just give you the longevity you need in the event you do live into your 90s. So having a growth bucket, while it is the most risky part of the portfolio, we want to take that risk, but we can't take too much risk because we got to make sure we have planned for that safety and income over the next 5 to 10 years. And beyond that, we can take a little more risk and sleep better at night knowing we're not touching that money for the long term. So that's where investment planning has to be strategic. Safety, income, growth is a great, simple way to really plan for your investments in retirement. So I mentioned longevity, and that leads me to the 4th area you need to be planning for. Healthcare costs continue to rise in this country, and as baby boomers continue to age, the need for long-term care facilities is going to increase more and more. Making sure you have a plan for how you will cover future medical expenses has to be part of your plan, whether that's through a long-term care policy or self-insuring. Now, if you plan on self-insuring, you need to be stress testing your plan to make sure you can cover the future cost. And by the way, we have a tool here that shows us what a private room is projected to cost per month in 25 years. And so when we are building out plans, we like to add in scenarios where what happens if you have to spend this for 1 or 2 or 3 years. If you're self-insured, your plan needs to be able to handle that. And if it can't, well, now we have to look at other areas to make sure that long-term care doesn't ruin our plan in the end. All right, and the 5th area you got to be planning for is legacy and estate planning. And everyone needs an estate plan because this could be extremely simple. This could be just having a will and making sure you have beneficiaries set up correctly on the right accounts. But for people with $1 million, it can quickly turn into legacy planning, meaning being really intentional about how you want to leave your money. Do you want to give it to charity? Do you want to leave a legacy for your kids and your grandkids? If so, you could probably be considering something like a trust. But at the end of the day, you need to start thinking now about what you want your legacy to look like, rather than waiting until it's too late. The most important thing is making sure you have an estate plan and that you don't leave a mess for your loved ones. But I see all the time couples are not on the same page for what they want from a legacy. Maybe one couple wants to spend more money now and not leave anything behind to their kids, whereas another one really wants to leave over $1 million to their kids. So that all has to be factored into how you're planning for retirement. So not to say a trust is a necessary thing, but you must know what your goals are for legacy and estate planning to then make the right decisions on how to plan for your estate. So if you're one of the 654,000 people with over $1 million saved in your 401k and are looking for help planning for retirement, we designed a planning process called the Mint for More Retirement Method, and that helps you plan for each of the 5 areas we discussed today. And if you'd like to learn more, book a call with me below and we can see if there's any ways that we can help you out. Or if you just want to take our retirement quiz, you can see if there's any areas that maybe stand out as areas of opportunity or areas you need to be focusing more in your planning journey. So please like and subscribe so that you'll see more videos just like this. And thank you and have a great day.